Welcome to Northtown News Magazine. My name is Martina Levinson.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that lemon light city, sweet Hope, Chicago. 224 446.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hirsch, and your host, Avi Myers.
Thank you, Marty. Marty has moved. Yes, sirree. Anyway, Avi Myers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine. And by the way, stick around because later on this show, we actually will have Marty live and in person on tape special for you.
Okay.
Anyway, thanks to my entire technical crew, Sonny Hirsch. Community policing, you know what? The police is getting a little better about it. We happen to like it. We're real big. Sonny's the chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District. And, you know, check our website. And we want to get right to business. So the person who's been a guest on the show more often than anybody else, and now he's on the show in a different role without a suit and tie. He's been here without a tie before, but not a suit. And we're talking about... And he's not alderman anymore. Berny Stone, how you doing?
I wore a suit to the wake on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't wear a tie though. I wore a crew top.
Okay. So you're working on a book? I understand.
Yes, I am. I'm a retired person and enjoying retirement immensely. But I do go to the office. Almost every day, and I've been working on a book, my memoirs.
Okay.
And I'm having fun and enjoying retirement immensely. And I have the only interest in politics is that of an ordinary citizen, and that's great. Well, no more late calls, no more, can you help me do this or can you help me do that? So. No more honey-do.
Got you. Well, one of the things, and just to tell people, we agreed you're not going to talk about personalities, but you'll talk about policy and things like that? Or?
I certainly.
Okay, because actually, if anybody's an expert in this neighborhood, you know, I think he pretty much qualifies as somebody who's seen what's been going on for a long time. So, you know what? The big thing around here, of course, has been the signs on demand. So
yeah, I was unhappy. I saw New York Kosher had to remove their sign, which was a neighborhood landmark, and Tel Aviv had to remove their sign.
Well, as a matter of fact, for those who don't know, the sitting alderman, or alder whatever, went to Tel Aviv Bakery, told them, you know, your sign's not in code, it's got to come down. The awning, not just the sign, the awning. So they told her, look, the economy's bad, give us a little bit of time and we'll put the money together and we'll change things. It's not cheap to take down a sign. So the next morning they were greeted with the $250 citation from the city. And for people who think that she's only picking on one or two businesses for this, it happened in more than one place. And it happened in more than just Jewish places. And but you know what? Let's talk about policy. There's a lot of laws on the books. For instance, isn't there still a law on the book that you have to leave room for a horse carriage between houses?
No, I don't believe so. Chris Cohn and Cliff Kelly and I got rid of a lot of those ancient laws like no kite flying and no women's hat pins and stuff like that.
No women's hat pins?
Yeah, there was a law against a woman having a hat pin longer than, I think, 2 inches, something like that.
Wow.
And you couldn't have red and black flags.
What was the reason for that?
Well, a black flag was a flag of anarchy, and
okay.
red flag was communism, so you couldn't have red and black flags.
Wow, wow. But, you know, the thing is that when you were alderman, there were a lot of laws on the books.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? And I would I would tend to think if you wanted to get somebody, it'd be pretty easy. There's so many laws.
Oh, I don't think that was the reason. The city's looking for money. And a lot of these people have had signs up for years and didn't pay their business fees. So, you know, I think you're being hypercritical. However, certainly in times like this, small business people shouldn't be hounded, and I certainly wouldn't be bothering them in times like this.
So
but
it is within the.
you know, if they come out over the public way, they're supposed to pay a fee for it.
Right.
And there's a reason for that. And I don't think that I'm not critical of, and it's not the alderman. That's the Department of Revenue. So
She's not initiating this stuff.
well, she may be, but there's a reason for it, and but it's a question of, as you say, it's a question of policy, and sometimes you have to look the other way.
Right. Well, I know. For an example, you know, and by the way, I'm a big fan of sometimes looking the other way because there are so many. Even the police on the street know that there's times you have, you know, that there's times you've got to use your brain and your heart.
Look, you remember that during the campaign, I was criticized for how many vacant stores there were, and I kept saying, "Look, it's the sign of the recession." Well, today there's twice as many vacant stores.
And growing, unfortunately.
And it's not the alderman's fault, and don't blame the alderman for that.
Okay.
But that's the reason why you've got to use a little sense when, I was going to say seichel.
That's fair enough.
when you enforce laws, as to, you know, a judge on the bench sometimes will give a pass to somebody because sometimes you just got to use a little common sense too. And a policeman, when he stops somebody on something, will give somebody a pass if he thinks that they're deserving of a pass. And that's the reason that in some of these laws you give a pass. And in times like this, to the small businessman who's really having a tough time making a living, you give a pass. And that's why. And particularly, you know, I know businesses that rather than pay some of these enormous fines, and some of these fines are enormous, will close up their store.
Well, I know in the case of New York Kosher, he would have had to pay $900 a year to the city. But more so, if he took the sign, he got lucky. He put the thing on eBay. Somebody who was into architectural, you know, remnants and artifacts and things like that saw it and wanted it. So it wasn't just a matter of taking down the sign. It's a matter of what it's going to cost you to take down that sign. And I mean, this sign, this particular guy who had his own little outfit, it cost him over $4,000 to take down that sign. Mm-hmm. So you're talking really serious money. And when you're talking about a shaky business like New York Kosher, you know, that's a different deal. By the way, the one thing I will tell you that does bother me is that later the day when the sign was down, and you know, the alderman did come by New York Kosher, and she says to him, "Oh my, your sign is down." And
well, you're
not going to comment.
I'm not going to criticize the alderman for that because I don't think the alderman's at fault for that.
Okay. So anyway, what do you see going on? What would you like to talk about policy in the city and what's happening in the neighborhood and that sort of thing?
Well, you know, generally speaking, if you'll recall, I was even before the campaign, I had criticized the General Assembly for raising the income tax and the tax on businesses, and I had asked people to contact their legislature and to ask them not to pass it. I had a press conference, and I want to say this, that our state senator did vote against it, you know.
Yeah.
And I praise him for voting against it. I don't know if it had something to do with the aldermanic campaign, but he did vote against it.
Let's face it, I think it did.
But in any event, he did vote against it. And that has driven business out of Illinois. And we're one of the worst states in the country because of it. And I'm very much concerned over the state of the state as a citizen, and not as a politician, as a citizen. And I think that each voter, one of the questions you've got to put to your representatives, to your senators, to your Congress people, is what are you doing to help our economy? It's got to be put to any candidate for office because Illinois in particular, California, Illinois, Michigan, we're states that are really in bad condition.
Yeah, Barron's rated us 49th out of 50 states.
Who's 50th? California. That's what I figured.
And
Nevada is probably right along with one of the bad ones too.
Right, that's correct. And for bond rating, we're third worst. California being on the bottom.
And you know, we've got to do something. I think everything that's being done by the legislature now, and even in municipal and the city, is patchwork, is Band-Aids. We've really got to do something to encourage business to stay and to do business. These little things like signs, for instance, they may seem little to the law enforcement bodies, but to the little businessman, you gave the perfect example. $4,000 or $5,000 to take a sign down.
Yeah.
That's not little.
No.
To a little businessman, that will destroy his business, and somebody's got to use just plain common horse sense, and they're not using it.
Yeah, let me ask you, what do you think about this new? The thing that bothers me the most, because and we're running out of time soon, this new speed limit thing.
I voted against the red light cameras in the first place.
I remember that.
And if I were in the council now, I would not vote to approve using the state law for speeding. Traffic laws are quasi-criminal. Criminal law. And this is a concept of criminal law, and you can ask the judges when they come before you.
Right.
Ask them this question. One of the principles of criminal law is you have a right to confront your accuser, and you have a right to cross-examine your accuser. How do you cross-examine a traffic light? How do you confront the traffic signal, a mechanical item? You can't. And I tell you right now, mechanical items make mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's a direct violation of Anglo-American law. And as far as I'm concerned, it's wrong. And I voted against the red light cameras in the first place. And all they do is raise money. They don't stop accidents.
I'll agree with that. Plus, I will also point out this becomes a matter of let's get people. You know, the government is after people, and I think it makes for a larger adversary relationship than there already is.
I was one of the 5 votes against the red light cameras, and if I were in the council, I'd be one of the votes against the traffic cameras being used for speeding. I see nothing wrong with an officer using an item because at least you have a human being operating something, and
right.
you can cross-examine the human being. You can ask when's the last time he tested the item. You can ask him other questions, but the camera's operating on its own.
Yep, I agree with you 100%. I want to thank Alex for bringing you. I'm glad you
Thank
came.
you.
And it's good to have somebody re-me once in a while. So, even if I'll disagree with you about that other stuff. But anyway, Bernie Stone, thank you so much for being here. And next guest, Mrs. Averick, a famous author. Bye-bye.
Thank you.